Welcome back, everybody. Today we are testing the new Motiv Max Thrill Hybrid.
If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon.
First impressions, the Motiv Max Thrill Hybrid fits exactly where it should in the arsenal, and that's all you can ask for, especially at this price point. All right, so let's jump in. Motiv says this ball is kind of a response to EJ Tackett's ask to find a ball in between the solid and the pearl Max Thrill. He used the pearl a couple times on TV from what I can remember. Perhaps he'd like something a touch smoother with the hybrid. I'll put all that aside for the moment. The Max Thrill Hybrid is basically a kind of mid-late ball in my arsenal building. Pretty clean with that 5500 grit LSP finish, but also very predictable off the end of the pattern. We recently tested the Storm IQ Tour AI, which is also a hybrid with very similar specs and purpose, so we will do a comparison here. While I said the IQ Tour AI was a clinical fit, that may have sounded like I didn't enjoy the ball. To clarify, it simply fit right in the bag without huge fanfare. In comes the Max Thrill Hybrid, and I have to say, I feel the same way. They serve the identical purpose, and while both of these balls are maybe not the typical clean and angular mid-late ball like, say, the Road Warrior, they're a little more usable, especially on sport shots where you want a weaker ball to also have control. On sport shots, you always want control until it opens up. From the left side, control is almost always a must because it hardly ever opens up the way it would on the right. But to come back to the house shot, it's 44 foot, 25.8 mil, 12 to 1. So not super easy, not super hard. What tends to work a little better here are medium strength covers, but bigger cores. The Evoke Hysteria, for example, killed this shot. However, the Max Thrill Hybrid, it also works well, as while it offers length, it's on the smoother control side with its lower diff core, which allows it to be played closer to the friction line and balancing response. The reality is it didn't take long at all to get lined up, and while I experimented a little bit on this pattern, somewhere at 10 to 13 at the arrows to around 8 down lane was the ideal area, and that led to lots of strikes with no issues, if not sometimes feeling not super firm down lane. Or fast off the friction. The quick comparison to the Storm IQ Tour AI is interesting. I'd say on lane and purpose they're almost identical. Very small nuances. It's possibly the lower RG core in the IQ Tour AI, making the ball feel like it's starting up a bit sooner at times. And the biggest examples here in this shot where they're on identical lines and speeds, but while they have the same physical length, the core on the IQ Tour AI seems to have turned over a bit sooner, changing the hit. But then you have other shots where the leaves and hits are identical. At the outset, I thought Tyler might have a little more motion and a good look with a bit higher rev rate, and I'd say his look was pretty similar overall, but my carrying consistency in terms of ball motion was a bit better. The 44-foot pattern meant a bit more direct shot in general, doesn't matter who the bowler is, and while my best look was 11 to 13 at the arrows, Tyler was more like 14 to 15. Not very different. The Motiv Max Thrill Hybrid has that clean look, but again, that smooth response off the end of the pattern. If there's actually something special that doesn't obviously stand out when you use this ball in the house shot, it looks kind of okay because it has slower response to friction. Not slow, but just slower than the sharp ones. It doesn't jump when it sees friction, so you might think, it doesn't look like it goes for a mid-late higher friction response ball. However, what actually makes it special, like the Storm IQ Tour AI, is the consistent smooth reaction, which is not very high response to friction. It's a unique behavior that, while may fit in the typical house shot when the pattern breaks down, but also makes it usable in sport shots. The Max Thrill Hybrid does come 5500 LSP, as I mentioned, out of box, so it's pretty shiny, and that may be a little bit part of the inconsistency on longer, almost 26 mil house shot. It's already walled, so misses in, hits the higher, longer volume, and the ball floats. Misses out sometimes, drive too hard if you're a little too square. Tyler also does a comparison to the IQ Tour AI, and he saw almost the same thing I saw. They are fully overlapping. The same targeting that struck with the Max Thrill Hybrid struck with the IQ Tour AI, while the same shots at 2810 did as well. The alignment is so unbelievably similar. I find it interesting both brands filled the same spot. Both hybrid balls, both already have solid and pro versions available. Both options do something slightly different than their line mates. Last but not least is Brian with the Motiv Max Thrill Hybrid. It's a bit of a mouthful to say every time, but anyway, Brian had a very good look. This ball keeps him in the 9, 10, 11 area at the arrow, so slightly straighter yet from Tyler and I, but only incrementally so. Because he was able to stay really close to the friction line, he can adjust his downlane trajectory and have carry for multiple breakpoints. He can belly it to 5 and bounce off the friction, or float it to 9 to hold in the oil. And that's the beauty of a ball that can keep him close to the friction line, thereby allowing him to take advantage of downlane forgiveness while not having to ever give away the pocket. I had a similar look and partially explains why Tyler had a little less consistency than we did, where he needed to open up the lanes just a touch more while the ball itself is pretty mild and not super dynamic down lane. And therefore it doesn't really make the big move on the volume and length from inside. For Brian, this was Strike City. Narrow area in the fronts, but more room at the break point. Again, this ball just does enough. While I called it clinical with the IQ Tour AI, which did the same, clinical is not a bad thing at all. Once Brian got to about 12 at the arrows, he started leaving consistent flat 10s. You can see it's kind of the end. The ball just doesn't giddy up for him once it's past that, let's say, breaking point, which really isn't far in at all. But that's not to say the ball is bad. It actually punches above its weight in the lowest part of the bag in terms of versatility. And Brian also shows that the Storm IQ Tour AI is extremely close in role and purpose. He's in the same exact zone, gets the same exact hits, no surprises. Bottom line, ultimately the Max Thrill Hybrid from Motiv will likely sell itself. It's very inexpensive and serves quite easily as a beginner ball, but also for the experienced bowler fits squarely into the mid-late part of the bag, especially on flatter shots. The colors certainly distinguish it from the Storm IQ Tour AI, but more importantly, the impact on the wallet is an even bigger distinguishing factor. Not a bad deal at all. Thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next video.